2, 1. Awesome. Over to you, Vaibhav.
All right. What is up, everybody? So do we have the note takers? We are they still there? They're still there? Note takers are still there? Note takers are still there, then we just want to go ahead and tell people. Came here to these offices. All right. Sweet. What's up, everybody? So for all those who have been part of this and joining for maybe the second, third, or fourth, fifth time, we've got a nice little kickoff game that we do. It's not a game. It's summer for some of you, winter for some of us, but we don't know that. How about you go ahead and drop in the comments, the bottom right corner, where you're from, and the temperature in either the metric or shit. Don't tell me. I don't know. I forgot.
Vaibhav always forgets.
Far. What? Wait, no. I actually. What is it?
Imperial.
Imperial. See, Imperial reminds me of the British, and we know that's not America. Right? Yes. So that's good. Please don't judge me. It is 12:05 in the morning here, which is technically lunchtime. Cool. Welcome on, everyone. We're going to keep waiting for some more people to join, and then we'll kick off. If you're here because you want to learn about what's happening, what we're doing, what's going on, and what to look out for and how to beat the market. And if you're seeing people spamming the chat support, probably want to go ahead and here's see Swapna's glasses. Fair enough. Go ahead and drop in the comments where you're from and probably why you're here, whether you're here for me or for Swapnil. We'll probably run a vote after this, and whoever wins, what can we do? If I ask him to do push-ups, he'll actually do it happily. So that's the issue at hand. Will we do push-ups? Your shoulder's fixed, right? Is your shoulder fixed, Swapnil?
Yeah. My hand is fixed, yeah.
Yeah, hand is fixed. Okay, that's good. No, because you had a muscle pull the other day, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
All set.
PRs on PRs. All right, so we got St. Pete. We know it's St. Peter's, and I'm here to annoy my bosses with suggestions on how to make. Nice. I will give you the most obnoxious settings to go ahead and give them. We'll love it. Boulder, Colorado. We've got where is it? Good evenings. All right, Denver, 63 Fahrenheit. Illinois, DR, Dominican Republic. That's it. We've got 29 Celsius. We've got people who were run by the British. One of us. 1 point. We've got New York. Oh, that's good. 74. Dubai. Whereabouts in Dubai? I grew up in Dubai and went to Cambridge. All right. We're just going to 2 more seconds. We'll kick off. London's 18 Celsius. That's summer for these guys, right? Guys and girls. Nice. Lovely. We should have another thing from next time onwards, not just location.
I
Jumeirah,
have
all right.
one thing to add, because this is something that I'm always curious for every office has, right?
Mhm.
How many of you are startups versus agencies?
Pop it in there. Agency tap in. Hit. Solo consultants. That's technically agencies as well. I have an agency, but work at a startup. Bamboozle. All right, agency. All right, let's get it. Startup. All right, cool. Let's go. We'll have a few more people. An agency for startups. Yeah, best of both worlds. All right. I've got one more question, I guess, to ask or understand. So we got the agency one, the temperature for whatever reason that I asked it for. And perhaps I'd like to know how many of you have done, because it will be contentious to what I want to speak about. How many of you have done outbound and email marketing, like not email, like newsletters and stuff, outbound marketing for more than 1 year? More than 1 year. You've gone through the sun rotation at least once. Drop it in. Yes, no, yes, me. Cool. Unfortunately, yes. 3 years, yes. 5 years, yes. Nice. I should have added that question to say how many of you still have hair on your head after more than 1 year, but well, for next time. Cool. Cynthia, no. Sayed, no. Does biz DevOps? Yeah, anything that causes people to shout and swear at you as you reach out to them, increasing less hair. It's quickly leaving. Well, if I offer you solutions, you shouldn't take it. So with that, let's go ahead and we'll be seeing you very soon. So there's another guy over here in the spotlight. You'll see Akash. Some of you have actually caught up with him. Our CSM. Absolutely hit that guy. Comes online with his luscious hair. You literally have, see, there's waves there. You can see it. Proper douchebag moves. each time. And he's got the lighting as well to make it like, glimmer on his head each time. Love his hairline. Totally not jealous of it. Cool. All right. So enough of this chat. Thank you everyone for joining. I've taken 9 minutes of your time trying to make everyone kick off. We're super excited to have you, but as we traditionally kick off, Swapnil is leading the show. I'm here to answer some questions. Just general chat. We'll obviously have Q&A and all that jazz. So it's heated. There's a lot of interesting, important topics. A lot of you probably would have seen it from the Slack chat through your own email account. So let's get into it.
Yep. So folks, the core agenda for today for this office hours is basically we've seen this come pop up over Slack a significant amount of time, right? It's around email deliverability. It's around the issues that are happening with respect to Outlook. How can you trust whether your resellers are honest? How do you go about approaching your resellers in the first place, right? Anything and everything that has to do with infrastructure setup is what we're going to cover. And the way we're going to do it is Vaibhav and I are going to bounce off some questions of each other. And as soon as that is done, we're going to open it up for an EMA. So if you have any questions related to, let's say, what's going on with the Outlook issue, how do we mitigate our risks on that part, right? How do I go and, find out which are the best SMTP providers? How do I go about finding the best resellers? How do I ensure that I can trust them, right? What are some of the checks that I'm supposed to do? What should I be doing when I get blacklisted, right? We're going to cover it all for you. So without further ado, let's get started, right? So the first question, right? And I know this has been popping up for a really, really long time. So I want to address the elephant in the room. The Outlook issue. What is it, right? What's going on with Outlook right now?
Yeah. Sweet. So before I start, because this is going to be recorded and someone's going to take a snapshot of this everywhere, disclaimer, I don't know anyone from Outlook. All I know is conversations from people who have lots of Outlook accounts or people who have been in the space for a really long time. So my job over here is just one thing alone, which is to go ahead and aggregate information from a bunch of people and share that with you. That's how we built this business. Genuinely, some person says something on a WhatsApp group, we test it out like, shit, this is true. We build it as a feature. That's how it's been. That's how it will be. And that's how our community works. Why? No one knows what's happening behind that black box of cold emails. We all know that, right? So it's all best guesses. And I'm best guessing, and so is everyone on the team over here. So you've got 4 people from the team representing. We've got Alka, who handles content, Akash, who's your CSM. You're probably caught up with him and met him. You got Swapnil, who handles growth. You got myself, who pretends I'm knowing and doing what I'm doing. So we will kick off with the first question. What happened with Outlook? Super, super straightforward. For those who are part of that, we thought it was an Outlook apocalypse. But in effect, there was a large amount of mailboxes that that had a bounce issue that happened a few weeks ago. Major tanks in deliverability. People just basically had a shit show, right, a few weeks ago. And some people still are having issues with Outlook right now. Some people have never faced the problem at all, and some people recovered. There's a bunch of theories for this. And I'm going to quote Jesse a few times because we actually did this debugging together a long time ago on random calls at the middle of the night. It was ages ago that we realized that Outlook used to attach the tenant ID to the message headers. For those who care or not care, message headers are basically pretty much just description information about your emails. Like, this is what this email is and a bit of a description about it. I'll share a bunch of links on all the technical stuff, etc. later, so I'll keep it super straightforward. So imagine it's basically a made in USA tag and tells you all the ingredients about the person. That's what a message header is. But what we realized is the message headers also started to contain the tenant IDs, which means who owns, like, a tenant is basically the admin account through which a bunch of mailboxes belong to. And we came so far to realize that Jesse actually has an API that he's released where using a domain, you can actually find out the other domains that belong to the same tenant. Why this matters is simply because if you got one domain that gets hit in a tenant by a blacklist or high bounce rate or whatever it is, there's a good chance it parallelly spreads across. But yes, TLDR, what we saw was a short span of about a few weeks, a few days. Some people noticed this all the way in May beginning. Some of us noticed this towards the 26th of the 22nd of May. What we noticed in the first weeks of May from our team, after someone mentioned that their emails were not being received, is effectively Outlook will go ahead and their Graph API, we use their Graph API because it's an OAuth point. Yeah, I'll provide a solution. Don't worry. I just want to paint the picture and I'll provide a solution very quickly. The picture is very simple. Outlook picked up certain words, certain links, certain patterns, and basically pretended to send your email, but then sent it into a black box. That's the easiest way to explain it to you. Cool. So your send rate goes up, but your opens, replies, and your clicks absolutely tank. Why? Because you think the email sent, but it actually never sent. So step one, we go ahead and freak out. We think that's something on our side. We go through it, look it through. We realize status 200. So emails are sending. So second point is, all right, it's not platform issue. Let's go into Outlook's actual tenant itself, like your actual Outlook account, log in and send a message. Same copy, same links, etc. Send it, disappears. Doesn't show up in our receiving Google site and so on and so forth, right? Now, we did one tiny thing. So there's actually our head of engineering. He's like, hey, V, just remove this link. I was like, makes no difference, but all right. It was just a random link. I was just testing. Removed it. Email went straight through. Was a pattern that we could pick up? No. Some people said to us when they had Calendly links, that caused their emails to disappear. When they removed the Calendly links, it worked just fine. Some people had issues around certain phrases. When they removed that, it worked just fine. So my solution over here for you right now, as an outcome, is super straightforward. If you have Outlook accounts, a more expensive solution is to use Glock apps, a dependable tool, and just select the Outlook accounts when you're trying to do a seed test. You will go ahead and get access to their emails showing up. So Outlook, Glock apps also has an option called missing. And if you're hitting missing, you're still facing the same problem. It means your set of mailboxes are not actually sending emails and they're landing on that side. If it hits spam, at least that's a good thing. If it hits the primary inbox, perfect, right? So you want to test your copy 2-3 times to ensure that your emails are actually landing. Forget even spam or primary, it's just landing. And if it's landing, then the spam concept is mainly all around the 100 things that we speak about, which is your copy, your cleanliness, your bounce rates, links, images, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. So that's the fix. Nothing too rocket sciencey. Just send a bunch of test emails to a bunch of mailboxes. It can be Gmail or Outlook, doesn't matter. And then just from your Outlook accounts, see if it's actually sending, tweak your copy. For most people, it's been fine. Now, you might have some layered issues around spin tags. So if that's the case, then go to the final step of your campaign on Smartlead. You'll have a bunch of spin tags variants show up. Copy that. Either send it directly from the final view to an account, or you can send it manually copy pasting it along into your Outlook account. Disclaimer: when you send test email does not test the deliverability of your email or your domain or your mailbox or anything. The test email is a Lambda function. All it does is it sends an email. We do not use our sending IPs, obviously, because some people can be bad actors and then send your test emails to invalid email addresses and burn IPs. So problem, statement, and hopefully solution for you all. You're muted. 5 push-ups.
My bad. So yeah,
Okay.
My question to you then on that is, okay, so there are 2 people that have asked questions in the chat as well, right? Is send rate percentage of emails that don't bounce? That is, if send rate is low, is it because of high bounces? Can you just define quickly what send rate is? And
send rate is basically the number of emails. So we don't have a send rate on Smartlead, from my understanding. We have an open rate, but Smartlead, Swapnil, your mic is quiet supposedly. But we don't have a send rate. We just have an open, click, bounce, reply rate, unless someone's added something and I didn't see it recently. But what we effectively have is sent is the number of total emails sent, not unique leads reached, total email sent, including follow-ups. But when you click into the particular campaign, you will go ahead and see total unique leads reached, total email sent, and so on and so forth. Cool. So just FYI. So that's that. Someone did ask what test email Glock apps for now, and a surprise in your Smartlead accounts in a couple of weeks. That will completely automate this entire experience. You do not need to worry about any deliverability checks, full automation access, full insights into are your emails actually landing on spam or the primary. We're going to change a lot of the stuff for you all. I assure you a lot of technical work going to it and make it absolutely fabulous for you in a few weeks. Sweet.
Awesome.
Now comes the second question someone asked. Does a test email always land in spam? No, of course not. It's a test email from a Lambda function. So the IPs might be completely toasted. So I would just say, if you want to have a true test to see whether you land on primary or not, send it from an actual campaign or from your actual mailbox once you log in.
Awesome. So Vaibhav, now that we know that, if users are facing issues on Outlook, right, there are 2 or 3 mitigation strategies that we do definitely know, right? The first one, as we know, is having a fair balance between Google and Outlook inboxes, right? The second one is figuring out resellers or SMTP providers, right?
Mhm.
Which would essentially help you balance out and ensure that you have enough mailboxes which are warmed up and are sending, so that you are not blocked in terms of campaigns, right? Which brings me to the next point, right? How do you go about approaching resellers, right? What are some of the factors that you're supposed to consider there?
Yeah. Mm. Gonna create a lot of enemies now. Cool. Super straightforward. There is no set note to verify who's a good reseller or not. It's very community driven. You're part of groups, you will find someone. But what you can do, yeah, do you plan on releasing sign up? Okay, we'll speak about that in a second. What you can do to verify if this reseller is good or not, you usually get access to a reseller through recommendation. Where do I get a recommendation? Welcome to Smartlead Slack community, or communities like this, or Facebook groups, or WhatsApp groups. Generally, if you're not there, get in there, ask the questions. People will be there to help you out. Now, people will reach out to you when they say they're reseller. Ask the reseller to ask for, just tell them, can you recommend me someone who is a customer of yours? Jump on a call with that customer, make sure they're not affiliated. Basic questions, be like, hey, like, can you show me a campaign? I'd love to see it. You can hide all the data, right? And they might say, I don't need to show you stuff. But that's the goal of the reseller. If they want to really convert you as a customer, they'll give you access to another customer who's willing to have a conversation with you on overall experience. Cool. I will explain what a reseller is very, very quickly. A reseller is basically an entity or a business that's built a transactional commercial relationship with Google and Outlook, where they will bulk buy accounts on behalf of Outlook and Google and then resell that to you at a discounted rate. This is a very common business practice. AWS does it. Outlook, Google, Zoho used to do it as well. So the advantage the reseller gets is they get marginal discounts, large discounts, and then they go ahead and sell that to other businesses and make money on the margin. That's it. Now, what that does mean when you work with the reseller, it is a bit of a black box where you don't have access to your tenants or whatever. You just need to tell them you want something, and they will go ahead and create mailboxes for you, give you the username and password in a CSV, and you pretty much go ahead and either log into them or add them to your Smartlead account. The contentions you need to be aware of with resellers is to ensure that you are actually having emails being sent from the place where they say they're sending it from. And the other thing you want to keep in mind is you want to ensure that the reseller is being very meticulous about their tenants. Remember, usually I do not mention or recommend you all to worry about all the tenant stuff, which is how many domains per tenant, how many mailboxes per tenant, unless you're doing crazy scale. Most of these resellers are doing hundreds, if not thousands of resellers. Cool. Now, with that being said, the second point to go ahead and consider is once you do work with a reseller, you probably want to authenticate whether your emails are actually being sent out from the right IP address or not. Cool. And the way you can do that is to save you some time. I will go ahead and maybe share with you. I'm not bait posting this, but I actually did create a LinkedIn post about this exact flow a few seconds ago, a few days ago, well, day before yesterday. Shit, I'm waffling. I sent it. I created a post day before yesterday, and the exact flow on how you can find out where emails are being sent. I'm going to link it to you all in the little chat bot over here. There's a few steps. Now, this is not fully accurate. I want to be very clear. But effectively, what you're doing is you're going to take your domain. You're going to get what is called your MX record, which is your mail exchange record. That means where are your emails being exchanged from? And then you want to go ahead and get that mail exchange record URL, figure out where that IP address is. And your IP address will basically, you can go to any what's my IP address software. What do you mean the link doesn't work? Has to. Does it not? It does. Yeah, it works. All right, cool. Yeah. Cool. And then from that, you'll basically get where your sending is. I want to be very, very upfront. This is not 100% accurate. This is a LinkedIn post, so there is some layer of information that I have to withdraw because it gets too complex, but the comments actually covers it quite well. Your MX records are basically your mail servers that are exchanged. Not every time the first IP that you get is the one that goes ahead and is the one that is used. That can also be the receiving server. So usually MX records give you like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. You can check all of them and confirm they're fine. Usually the first one will give you a good answer most of the time. Now, do note that these IPs are tentatively also proxied. That means just because it says Southeast Asia, Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia, it doesn't always mean that. It is a proxied endpoint, and it can actually be sending from somewhere else. So there is a layer of it. But the goal of this is to not go ahead and scrutinize. And the goal is just to give you a sense of safety that if it is showing up in the US, good chance that it is being sent from the US, right? It's only if it is, if you're seeing something about Singapore or India or some other part of the world, then you probably want to just go ahead and just nudge them and confirm, can you just remove this sense of doubt from me and let me know if it's actually going from a US IP address or not. Most of them should be able to do it. That's it. So how do I get someone I can trust? Ask someone in a community, right? Whether it's Smartlead Slack group, whether it's ListKit Slack group, whether it's Facebook groups of our friends, competitors, whatever, WhatsApp groups, just reach out. Hey, I'm looking for a reseller. Has anyone used one? Can you share me your experience? That's it. That's the post. Resellers reach out, ignore them. Some people will message you saying, what do you want to know? Work with those people to go ahead and figure out who they use as a reseller. If they can give you proof, fabulous. Once that's done, create your accounts, do a very quick test, the one that I've shared you to in the LinkedIn account. It will give a very quick sanity check, and that's it. You're good to go.
Vaibhav, quick question. What do you mean by tenants? This is a question.
Tenants are basically parent accounts. So when you create an Outlook account and you want to have like Nandini at facebook.com, where maybe you work at Facebook, you need to have one primary account from which you can create the actual, sub users, right? Like maybe team member 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those team members are basically going to be part of your tenant, right? Or what Google calls a workspace. Now, with that being said, when you have a tenant, you can add a bunch of other domains, or what Google in their workspace calls secondary domains. You can add 10, 20, 30, 40 of those secondary domains. So your entire tenant is a house to about 20 to 30 domains. Each of those domains can have their own users and so on and so forth. So it's a parent account effectively. Sorry for using complex words.
No
second domains are not the same as aliases. Do not use aliases. Aliases are basically mirrors or they're proxies. Aliases do not have their own DKIM, their own signatures, their own authentication layers, their own SMTP sending engines. They're not. Yeah, a tenant equals Google Workspace. You figured out.
So sorry to cut you short. Just complete that. I'll have another question to ask you. Right?
Go on. Thought is lost.
So but okay, there is one thing that I've seen a lot of Slack users also ask, right? What's up with Smartlead open rates and click rates, right? Like, hey, I've sent emails, but I know they've not been opened because I've tested them, but I still see opens, right? We know for a fact that that really happens because there are ESP bots which crawl your mails and your mailboxes to search for spam triggers in order to ensure whether you're spamming the user or not, and essentially make sure that, but there is no way for us to like differentiate that, right? Like what is a bot open versus an actual human open? What is the fix?
I'll walk through it very quickly. Just before we go to that, I'll answer Andrew's question very quickly. Is financial ease and ease of setup, both, right? Very quick to set up and cheap. With cheap always comes a reason why it's cheap. So just be aware of that. Now, open rates are a marketer's dream because that's what we use as a signal. In fact, even we sort of succumb to that, and we use open rates internally as a team when we're sending out newsletters and so on and so forth, right? The way open rate works are very simple. There's two ways you can do this. I'll tell you what everyone in the world does, and I'll tell you what you can do. What everyone in the world does is effectively we attach what is called a single image pixel. That means we actually attach an image which does not exist. It's one pixel image. It's a dead image as an actual image, right? Like it's an image, PNG image. And we attach it to the headers or somewhere in an email. The way the internet works is when I want to view an image, I need to request that data from a server. We use the same principles where the assumption is when someone clicks an email, it renders the email. That means it shows up on someone's screen. And when it shows up on someone's screen, it is requesting for information that is in packet of that email. And part of that information that is packeted is that little image from a URL. What we do, and Smartlead and other companies do, is each image has a unique secondary query string or something else attached to it. And that query string is attached to that particular lead's email sequence campaign. So when you request that, it hits our servers. our server says, oh, this person looks like they've opened it. And we go ahead and increase or increment it by 1. That's how opens work. Try it in any tool, same process. How do we fix it? Oh, where did it break? It broke. When did Cambridge Analytica happen? 2016?
Yeah.
Yeah, around 2016. When Cambridge Analytica happened, that's when this started to crack. And then when Facebook got hit and Apple released their Apple mail protection policy, then everything got shanked properly. The stats are 48% of all internet, or 62%, whatever the flip is. 48% of all internet travels through Apple servers. Just because you're hosted on company phones, Apple phones, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. What that means is Apple, once you hit their servers, what happens underneath that, they will give you no access to it, right? Okay, Julian, I don't know if you work for these guys or not, but please stop posting about green geeks again and again. We'll have that question answered for you very quickly. Cool. But second question, to go on to that perspective over there. Once that image or that email goes to Apple servers, everything underneath that, no one knows, no one has access to. If you do, let us know how you beat the multi-trillion-dollar company. That will be the win. Cool. So right now, no one knows. Facebook doesn't know. That's why they've come with their own API flow, etc. Sweet. So what's the fix? Whether your emails have been truly open or not, no one's going to tell you that. And if someone tells you, they tell you that, more than happy for you to get them to come on a call over here and we can have the discussion. 2 things will happen. Either we will learn or I'll be more than happy to prove them wrong, right? So it's a win-win for the community. The second piece is to go ahead and effectively track your sent to open times. Smartlead has full transparency on this information. So you can actually go to your analytics, you can export your data, and you can actually see when your email is open. Now, it is purely a probability game because someone gave this advice and we actually thought of it ourselves. Like, hey, what if an email is open within 2 minutes? Let's ignore all emails open within 2 minutes as an assumption that they're not open. No, I open my emails within like 30 seconds sometimes, right? Or even 5 seconds if I'm on my laptop or my phone, because just how I am. So that is an inaccurate way of measuring opens or delisting an open as a bot. But you can use our analytics that are pulled down to give you a sense of understanding of whether that email opening or click is effectively botted or not by simply from send time to the event existing or happening. Sweet. Hope that helps.
Yeah, Vaibhav, that does. And I hope that answers your question as well. Right. But essentially the fix for it is use custom domain tracking, especially if you're running campaigns with, you want to track some click rates as well, right? Just use, yeah.
If you want to track metrics, no, sorry. So that's, I guess that's a little different. If you want to improve your deliverability while tracking metrics, then use custom domain tracking. That is your, white labeling your own domain, etc. But to figure out whether your opens are botted or not, the export analytics is the only way to figure out whether it's botted or not. We can go into custom domain tracking as a secondary whatever, but that's more a beginner conversation, and we've got enough help articles to go ahead and drop to this. Right.
But essentially what I then want to understand, Vaibhav, is what are some of the core principles, not even principles, some of the core factors that you would ideally want to ensure? Because again, when would someone need to go to a reseller? Why would someone need to go to a reseller, right, to purchase their mailboxes?
Mm-hmm. It's cheap. That's it.
That's it, right? Like, oh God.
Because they're poor. Yeah, it's because it's cheap. That's all there is to it. And the reason why I'm even having this discussion, everyone, is because the market has just become proliferated with this set. And then, I end up jumping on a lot of calls with people on weekends. Some of you have even jumped on calls on weekends. And it's unfortunate because not even 9 out of 10, at least this weekend, I don't want to be, a douchebag. At least this weekend, 10 out of 10 times, every customer I jumped on call with was either using some SMTP tool or using Reseller, and they're having issues. One of them, US IPs, but guess what? We run a whole tenant check. I did a whole bunch of decrypting. Good mate sending emails out of Singapore. So, right, I'm not going to name the reseller. I'm not going to name the customer, but that's why I said just get that checked. That was the intention behind that LinkedIn post, is to share with you how we figured it out.
Vaibhav, like with respect to the IP, right? A lot of people have also asked questions. But firstly, how do you go about checking IPs? That's the first part. The second part to that question is, Should it matter, for example, if you're sending from US and Europe to like outside and vice versa, right? If you're trying to send to US and within Europe, uh, what would make sense? Where should the IPs be based out of?
Yeah. So the IP stuff, I told you the LinkedIn post already. You can go through that and gives that answer. Doesn't matter whether you send from US, Singapore, India. No, absolutely not. There's the whole assumption over here is US IPs are quote unquote cleaner. By default anyway, all of Outlook and Gmail's IPs and servers are listed in the US, but that might change or has changed. It's a black box anyway. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Super simple. There's no change if you go from US or India, Singapore, Australia, any of these places. It's the whole point of just raising that is those servers usually get blacklisted quite often because, again, remember, if it's cheap, it's a reason, right? Like, why would Google and Outlook sell something cheap for you when they can make $8 a pop, and instead they're selling for $4 a pop? Because those set of individuals who are using those resellers maybe just don't care about they're not doing this for outbound. They're just using it for their own mailboxes and their own company conversations. In which case, you don't need to worry about it. You're sending within yourselves, right? So it's a win. So in that case, yeah, you'd use a reseller because I mean, like with Smartlead, we've got like 35, 40 Gmail accounts for Smartlead, right? And that's what 16 AUD. So that's a couple $100. So yeah, if I wanted to, I can go to a reseller because I'm not sending from Smartlead's domain, and it can cut costs. That's all.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to have a verified resellers page. That just gets very dodgy. It's a black box, right? That's the. I'm only speaking about this because I'm sort of been compelled to speak about it, just because of the large amount of conversations I've had with people, and I wanted to address this in a public forum. But otherwise, we do have resellers that we recommend. There's one in particular that we like, and you're welcome to go ahead and drop a question on our Slack chat, and then we will let that person know to reach out to you.
Yeah. Another factor here, Vaibhav, is so generally when essentially folks, when you would ideally want to go to resellers if you want to purchase domains and like mailboxes for cheap. That's one. Secondly, you're new to cold emailing and you don't want to take in the time and effort to actually manually set those up, which is where a reseller will come and basically ease up that process for you, right? There's no other reason for you to go to a reseller other than that, right? These are the two factors that generally make it or break it for you when it comes to choosing a reseller.
Great call out. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that brings me to another core point, right? Which is web of when should someone go for SMTP, or why should even someone choose SMTP, right? Like, and this is a very big call out because I'm going to ask you to call out what we have in the pipeline.
Yeah. Cool. You go for an SMTP for the same reason that you go for what's it called? The same reason you go for reseller. It's just cheaper, right? They say it's it's a skill thing. You get to send more emails and a whole bunch of jazz, etc. I'm gonna be very careful over here because I don't know who's watching, but look, the short answer is there's a bunch of people that have come into the market that say they are SMTP providers for sending emails. They all promise some ridiculous 99% deliverability, 100%, which is just ludicrous. It's stupid, to be honest. But they do it, you fall for it, and then we're here. You use resellers use SMTP providers if you want to figure out a very quick way to add a bunch of mailboxes. You're not a domain setup person. You're not a operations person, and you want a cheaper solution. You think the reseller market is super dodgy, and you've been recommended an SMTP tool from someone else. Do that. The thing with these SMTP tools is very straightforward. You start off, it's super successful, and then it eventually tanks. Why? It's not their fault, because when you start off, your IP stuff and all that jazz they mentioned is super clean, right? No one's sending messages. But by nature of outbound, you have low opens, bounces, all that jazz. So eventually it drops off. And then it becomes a game of accessing and getting, IP addresses to continually restructure. And that's where companies start to struggle. With that note, we're working on our own thing, right? But why have we not launched? With the 100 questions that we get from everyone saying, why have you not launched it? Because I know how difficult it is. It's not as easy as what these people say. Like, I launched a product in like 3 months and then it's all good to go. It's not. It's difficult. It's crazy. Like, you're talking about building an entire email infrastructure for sending messages that are bound for, like, a low reply rate by nature of sending emails. It's not that if we launch it, it's fine. It takes a lot of time to build something that can actually scale. But with that said, yes, we are working on it. Yes, we are working on ways to set up infrastructure to make it easy for you. 100%, that will be at your front window screen in a couple of weeks / months. That's by all means the goals. But with that said, thoughts on, with that said, I would sort of call it there and pretty much say, try them out. I will never discourage you from trying them out, but be very aware that you're trying a tool out that is probably a whitelisted solution to another tool, FYI, or they have built their own little thing and they're trying their best. Their business, they're giving it a shot. With that comes some issues. That's all. Like, I'm just trying to be practical with you all. Like, just be real about it. You've got Google and Facebook. These engineers get paid 180 Gs, 200 Gs a year, plus ESOPs and whatever. And you're telling me 4 people have figured out how to get better deliverability than Google and Outlook is tough. So when we launch ours, we're not going to claim for that. Our sell point is simple. It's easy to set up, probably cheaper. But you need to be realistic to say you're better than Google or Outlook. So yeah, that's the TLDR. Perhaps we can move on from this question. Yeah, muted.
Sorry,
10 push-ups.
Move on from this question. Again, what folks, simple. We're never going to shit post on any other product. If you genuinely want to see if it enables a better business for you, and just try it out, right? Like, we're not going to say don't try it out just because they're a competitor. Try it out, see if it works for you. If it works, we're happy for you. Simple.
That's it.
Right? Yeah.
I believe some people have even seen me in the Slack chat say stuff. I'm like, yo, just something else works, go to them. Like,
I mean, it's your business at the end of the day. It's your revenue, right? That's what matters to you, not to us, right? Like, we essentially want you to do better, but yeah, that's about it.
Because you'll eventually come back. But the goal is for you to do better. Yeah.
Yeah. But okay. Here's the thing, right, Vaibhav? We know for a fact that SMTPs also, like, most ESPs have the ESP matching, which also makes sense, which is where SMTPs end up failing, right? Like, it is essentially with respect to Google matching mailboxes, right? Versus Outlook to Outlook, right? Which also heads deliverability, right? Could you just talk a bit more on that aspect as to, and also explain to people, because I know this is something that a lot of our users on Slack have been asking, right? Like, your warm-up's not working. Hey, why is your warm-up not working? What's wrong with your warm-up, right? Just give everybody a sense of what is our warm-up algorithm, how does it work, what have we thought about it, and why should you warm up, right? Essentially, along with the idle times for warm-up.
Yep, cool. Okay. Statistically, 1 million mailboxes in the warm-up pool, about an average of 35 to 40 messages a day. With if we flag it from today morning's conversation with Andrew, 40% response rate on average across, right? If we just go with that, we're sending at about 50, 60 something emails a day, million emails a day on warm-ups. It's super simple. Email A, email B, send from email B, wait for some time, have some humanistic patterns, blah, blah, blah. Open email B, right? Open email B, see if it's in the primary inbox. If it's not, then search the spam folder and quote unquote other folders. If it is found in other folders, go back to the database, increase count by 1 for other folder / spam. Then on the user's perspective, go ahead and count the number of emails sent versus the number of emails that were incremented in the other / spam folder and the other emails that were found in the primary folder. That divided by that is your answer. That's it. It's not magic. And we have no intention to go ahead and give you a wrong number. Like, that's generally what's happening. Your emails are landing in the primary folder, and that's what's picking up. So why are they landing in the primary folder? Very, very many reasons. One of the most obvious ones, if you're in warm-up, a very low volume of emails are being sent, right? Second, your emails are being sent from trusted IP addresses. Third, you end up having situations where your emails are also going to go ahead and have very, very platonic conversations straightforward discussions, and normal copy. Drastically different from sales copy. And I think if you all are part of any of the WhatsApp groups, even one of our competitors, Patrick, he said it quite proactively, which is 90% of all sending depends on 4 points and maybe 3. Where you get your leads from, your copy, your sending or your data cleanse, your sending infrastructure, right? And your email infrastructure. That's it. Those are all the 4 things that matter. Now, let's go for a question on why is my my reputation 100% on the warm-up side, but then my emails are not sending, or my emails are not, 100% landing. Firstly, you find me someone who has 100% deliverability, anyone in the world, we will bring them on and we'll do whatever the hell we can under the sun to make sure that they become a team member of Smartlead, or if not, pay them for whatever we can to figure out, because that's not possible. It just doesn't happen, right? But why is it 100% on the warm-up sometimes, and why are your emails not sending? Just feel free to peek into the warm-up copy and see what's being sent, right? See how often the emails in the warm-up side are being sent, the randomizations behind it, the IPs that we're using to send it, and so on and so forth, right? So those are the basic things that end up having a net effect on what effectively has net value on your warm-ups. Now, to the person reading the question an X amount of times again and again, I don't know who that is, Joseph. Like I said, there's a million mailboxes, and what that means, if an email bounces, this is a good question to answer as well. If an email bounces and it's a hard bounce, the mailbox is automatically removed from Smartlead's warm-up pool. Cool. Point blank period. Sweet. No worries. Sorry, I wasn't calling you out in a bad way. I apologize. I was just trying to address it. But the second point is now the second question people do ask. Hey, I logged into my actual Gmail account and there's like 40 messages that are the bounce message. What the hell? Open it and you'll see that effectively Gmail's job is simple, guys. It's not meant to be for cold emails. Gmail's job is simple. I need to get my email from my customer A to my customer B, right? And it's going to do whatever the hell it can on the sun to send it. So it becomes an incessant creep, effectively, to go ahead and keep sending that message to that same lead until they accept it. And why does it do that? It does it under the concept of soft bounces. Soft bounces are simple. MX records were trafficked off that lead, right? Of the person receiving it. Mailbox was full, right? DNS transaction errors, right? Sending errors where you effectively didn't send the message, or the person who was meant to receive it didn't receive it, but they basically handshook on the protocol saying, yes, we're good to go. There's about 20, 30 something soft bounce reasons. Whenever a soft bounce happens, Gmail will retry again. You'll see that message. This message was soft bounce. Gmail is entering this retry engine, and Gmail will retry for the next 48 hours to send that message to that other individual. A soft bounce has zero, make this a meme, 0 net effect on your bounce rate, your spam rate at all. Why? Simple. Gmail is sending those messages again and again. They will not purposely screw your mailbox up, because bounce rates that are soft are simply basically emails being retried until the receiver receives a message. Hard bounces are restricted, user doesn't access, spam messages, blah, 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 blah. So just keep that in mind. Sweet.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
So Vaibhav, with that particular use case, let's move on to the last segment so that we can then open the floor for some questions. And I know a lot of people have questions, so I want to give them the opportunity to ask that. So blacklists, right? One thing that most of our Slack users have been asking, and something that even I'm curious about, right, is firstly, what are blacklists, right? For all the other users that don't know about it. Secondly, what are some of the top blacklists that people should be worried about versus the ones that they shouldn't be worried about, right? Also, how can users check if they've been blacklisted using Smartlead?
Cool. So I did have a, so this is on me, but we released the blacklisting for those of you who are aware in the performance section of your campaign. And poor CS team, I'm sorry, we didn't fully train them on that. And obviously you all had a ball because you suddenly got blacklisted on a bunch of random blacklists. So we check 500 blacklists. A bit incessant, but why not? Out of those 500, 10 matter. The other 490, make no difference. Let's go into what a blacklist is. We all don't know. But effectively, a blacklist is an open source network where people or the community goes ahead and reports to these set of individuals that a certain set of mailboxes are spammers, or they're high traffic spammers, or they're hoaxers, or doing something wrong, right? And when that mailbox or that domain or that IP address gets added to this blacklist, effectively the assumption and understanding here is open source providers like open ESPs like Google, Zoho, and Outlook effectively go ahead and check for these blacklists in when the message is received on the lead side, similar to when they do like a DKIM and DMARC check at that time, to go ahead and verify if they're part of certain blacklists. And if they are, effectively go ahead and increase the potential for you to move to the spam folder. That's all it is. They're open source networks. There's some of them are paid, but most of them are a very community-based engine. The ones that you should quote unquote worry about. Look, you'll have people, there's 100 and something people here. You'll have people in this call itself who will say backlists are bullshit. They don't matter. It's like a false thing that was created by the secondary market and email validation market to get you to start buying email validation credits. That's the whole theory, right? But the one that you want to be focused on is basically, honestly, I want to go into the top 10. Look at Sorbs, look at Spamhaus, and look at SpamCop. The rest of them, I'll share the link with you all. You can check it out. Yeah, the original conspiracy theory. Yeah, that one has 10. And if you're listed on any of these 10, again, it's not the end of the world. You simply can go ahead and message them. We actually have like a little point of text in you get blacklisting within Smartlead. And you can go ahead and message them to make sure they remove you from that blacklist. For that, you need to give them proof that you are not sending cold emails, which you are. If you have a genuine case that you're sending helpful emails to help businesses make money and you want to twist the story, etc., go for it. Perfect story. We usually, once we get blacklisted, the effort to go ahead and get it removed and make sure that we are no longer, because it becomes super sensitive after that, we just tend to move on. It just makes life easier, right? That doesn't mean you just buy, spam, churn, and burn. If you're continuously ending up with blacklist, then you probably need to figure out what you're doing wrong. That's not a good, like, you're not meant to just get listed all the time. Sometimes, yes, but not all the time. Sweet. Where is it? How Smartlead helps? In any of your campaigns, we've added the thing called performance tab. Click on that, you scroll to the bottom, there's a blacklist icon, which is always in the warning sign. That's, by the way, it's not on purpose. The warning sign basically is done because when you click on it, we do a real-time check every single time. So none of that data is cached for you. So we don't know if you're blacklisted or not. So until you're not blacklisted, we'll just say the warning sign will be there. The second we'll run the check. It's not blacklisted, it'll be green, you're good to go. So that's it.
Yeah, awesome. Folks, with that, we're at the end of our segment. So I know a lot of you have questions. The easiest way, and we're going to open up the floor for questions, is on the bottom right where you have the React section. Just click on it. You'll see an option to raise your hands. Please switch on your videos so that I can spotlight you and you can ask your questions. We're idly, in interest of time, please limit it to one question. If you have any further questions, what I'm going to do is create a thread right after on our Slack channel where Vaibhav will answer them. Right? You can just drop your questions there. Awesome. We've got our first person here, Alejandro. One moment. Let me just spotlight you and go for it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Really helpful stuff. One question I had for you guys around the warm-up. I continue to read kind of conflicting literature on whether the warm-up is good or bad. I know a lot of things I read is like it's great because it mimics humans. Other literature says it's really easy to spot the pattern, especially because we use those tags. You put like Apple warmer, but so you can remove them from your inbox. So I could see how I'm working at Google as an engineer. I just look for emails. If you have 100 emails in your inbox that all have the same exact tag, it's probably a warmer. So what's your perspective on the use of warmers and how long should we use them? I've read 2 weeks, I've read 3 months. How do you think about that?
So back in the day, bunch of people who introduced this warm-up concept added a tag in the subject line. It was the easiest way to identify a warm-up message. That got hit very quickly when Google came out a year and a bit ago saying warm-ups are going to be blocked. We're going to identify it, blah, blah, blah. So our divisive solution was simple. You have 2 words with a dash in between as a way to identify it. Those 2 words and a dash belong to just that one mailbox, provided you're following the right practices and you're sending a maximum of 30 emails a day containing that phrase. there's a trillion emails sent out each day. Like, that's not a pattern Google's going to pick up. And yeah, of course, we want to pick up a conspiracy theory. There's 100 things that can be wrong with everything, right? So, yeah. Second question, patterns. It's the counter statement as well. Like, who sends 40 emails every single, like, who sends out 40 cold emails every single day in a certain template, blah, blah, blah. Like, I can come with the counterpoint to it as well, right? My perspective, same call I had with Andrew, because we had some person start this whole thing that warm-ups don't make a difference, etc. Maybe they don't for you. I don't know. Like I said at the very beginning of the call, if you didn't join, it's all a trend, it's all a pattern. No one knows. We're just giving best guesses. The perspective is simple. You buy a mailbox or a bunch of mailboxes and you start hitting emails every single day with like a 10% reply rate. There's a significantly larger chance that you're going to have that mailbox or that domain disconnected from whichever ESP you're using because of irregular activity than if you were using warm-ups. And that's a statistical fact. You can check it out. You can test it yourself, etc. Point one, sorted out. Point two, does it actually improve deliverability? Great question. When we hit the market 2 and a bit years ago, and from what we see right now, yes, we know it impacts deliverability. Does it improve it or not? Very nice wide theory for us to all figure out and put tinfoil hats on. But do we know it impacts deliverability? 100%. Because if you end up in, like, you can create little warm-up pools, right, of people from like a certain domain age, etc. And what ends up happening is you have a bunch of people who look very similar to each other sending messages to each other, whether it's domain age, where you bought the mailboxes from, the type of setup, Outlook and Outlook. The second you send emails to any other mailbox that does not belong to that persona, you get smashed, right? So we know it's impactive. It's not that it's not the case. The data is there to back it. Again, obviously all tinfoil hat stuff, but we know it's impactive. But the assumption over here is, do sending emails to aged domains make a difference versus sending emails to poor rated domains and getting replies and so on and so forth? Does warm-up improve deliverability? I think so, yes. But what I think warm-ups does more so is it improves the longevity of your mailbox. It lets you run longer. That's all. And I do believe that it offsets the negative impact of low returning campaigns. Yeah. So there's, I'm trying to be, I don't want to say, fuck yeah, obviously it does. Yes, that is my genuine statement when I'm trying to be very platonic and very neutral and say that you can look at both sides. If I'm being very pragmatic, it increases the length of how long your mailboxes live for. And it improves the fact that just by statistical nature, you're sending out campaigns with 1,000 emails and you got like 20% reply rate, or 40% reply rate if you're good. The warm-ups just make it catches up. It just balances out the number of people who've not responded to. Because remember, everybody here, the goal of ESP or SCPs, sending email platforms like ours, is to mimic human behavior. And to just move on to the next question, sorry, Alejandro, before we carry on, is do not do 100% reply rate. There is no human on this world who's replying to 100% of their emails every single day. You will go in spam because of that. And then you'll say, why is it not working? Because it shouldn't work. Like, I would block you. So yeah. So 40%, 60%, and just FYI, the best of the best in the space, warm-up ratings change every single day. The keywords that you mentioned, they flip them every single 3 months, 4 months, whatever. They keep flipping it. They keep rotating it. And not to plug Smartlead's API, but that's kind of why it exists. Like, the best of the best, use the API, automate the crap out of everything, and they're good.
Vaibhav, I'd like to add one last point for Alejandro. So we've done internal tests using mailboxes from Outlook and Gmail for warm-ups as well, right? What we've observed is the best range to be in when you're warming up your campaigns for the reply rates should be between 30 to 60%. You can obviously tweak that. And generally, there's a 10 to 15% difference, if not more, when you're warming up your mailboxes for 1 week versus 2 weeks, right? Minimum should be 2 weeks, right? You can get started with 1 week worth of warm up as well, right? But that's about it. There is no hard rocket science behind it. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Alejandro.
I'll just add one point, right? Which is, I know we're coming towards the tail end. What's the fix, right? Like, hey, you've added me to this call and all you're doing is shitting on everything that I'm trying to do. What's the hope, right? So there's a lot of hope. Like, you go to the channels, there's a million people making money, people paying off homes, shit, kind of cash. We're not going to focus on that. The fix effectively is the deliverability stuff that we're bringing in, right? At least we believe so. Because at that point, you can finally check out whether your campaigns are actually going to land in the primary or not. Simple. Then you can have the accuracy that you want. You can figure out whether your emails are delivering the way they have to deliver, whether your copy is working or not. And that is a fix, in my opinion, right? So when that's at, we'll see there. We can test it out. We'll see how the market works. But until it's at, Glock Apps is there. It's a great tool to use. There's MailReach. It's free. Check it out here and there. There's a email on Acid and there's Litmus. These are all mail placement tools that you can use to check whether emails land in the primary folder or not.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Thank you so much. Cool. We've got Seth next. Seth, could I request you to please switch on your video so that I can spotlight you? And yep, you're good to go.
All right. What's up, V? Hey, Swap man.
And
So I was looking through the Outlook documentation the other day, and it said that domains without a public A record or MX record automatically get sent to the high-risk sending pool. Do you think there's value in routing our burner domains to the IP of our main website, or leave it as is?
Why don't your secondary domains have public A records or MX records?
Yeah, so I think just they point to like AWS servers, but
Oh, you're doing that kind of stuff. Okay. Ooh, okay. Are you using SES or what's you?
no, I ran a lookup because they're like aliases that point to AWS servers.
Right. So going the route.
So there is an
okay.
A record there, but
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that A record is
Okay. I don't have the answer for that, man. I don't even pretend and say that I know if that makes a difference. I know for a fact that what most SAPs do when they receive the headers is they go ahead and do baseline IP checks to confirm whether your records on your hosted name server match the secret tokens that are added in your DKIM DMARC records, as well as your basic sender IP records. And if that's missing, then yeah, by a logic and math game, yes, it should not work. But if there's some weird stuff happening there where it latches on and relays back to your primary by you redirecting your secondary domains to your primary using 301 redirects or whatever, it might work. I don't have the backup to tell you yes or no, but on a logical perspective, yeah, I mean, if you redirect it, it should make sense versus it just being a dead pool and not having access to the fact that where is this even coming from?
okay. Yeah, because I was thinking about testing it, but I didn't want to, like, if I throw my main domain's IP into a burner domain, do you think that would increase the chance of the main IP getting burnt?
You're going
No.
too deep into it. I don't think so. You're saying if I send messages from my secondary domain and I'm linking my secondary domain to my primary domain, and if I send from my secondary domain and that gets marked as spam, whatever it is, and as a result, then that relays back to the primary domain?
Yeah.
You let me know. I will say no, simply because of the fact that we've got a shit ton of mailboxes and they all point to their primary domains. No one's got a burner domain not pointing 301 direct to their primary domain, because when you have a burner domain, by nature, you have to point it to a primary domain because people will copy paste that and you want them to link it to someplace. So I know what you're referring to. Someone did push a tweet out the other day that the secondary domains are linked to the primary domains and the 301 directs are being tracked by Google, blah, blah, blah. Prove it and we'll believe it. For now, it works. So yeah. So to answer your question, no, secondary pointing to the primary should be okay. Unless you figure something out, please feel free to drop in the community. And I think we'd love to learn that.
All right, I'll do that. Thank you guys. Way better than instantly.
I'm not going to say anything.
no comment. Awesome. Folks, do you have any other questions? Please raise your hands if you do. We'd love to answer them for you. Awesome. Daniel.
Cool. Daniel, go for it.
Yeah. Just give me a minute. Let me add Spotlight and boom. Go for it.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you, guys. I was asking a question in the chat earlier, but for instance, if you wanted to go the no reseller route, right, in which you don't mind as much like paying a little bit more for Google and Outlook, I wanted to know if you guys have any guidance in terms of best practices to setting up domains. One of the things that I'm a little bit scared of is when setting up all of these Google workspaces to do it from the same browser session,
card, blah,
also
blah, blah,
being
blah, blah,
able
yeah.
to figure out credit cards, like
Yep.
accounts per tenant, that type of stuff. So if you can
Yep.
walk us through that, that
Yeah.
would be great.
Yeah. So Alka's screen camera's off right now, but she's probably looking and be like, "What? I told you this." So she literally sent me a message saying we need a Loom video about this. We will record a Loom video and send it through. We have a video with Jesse who's gone through this in very in-depth detail as to how you can create mailboxes at scale. So I think to save you the energy, because that's it's very in-depth to walk you through that, we'd link that to you, or it's in our YouTube channel. But unless you're trying to do 500, 600, 700 mailboxes, I wouldn't go too crazy. Like you should be fine 10, 15 domains in a single workspace, 3 to 4 mailboxes per domain. You're good to go. But once you start doing that multiplied by 10, 15, 20, then yeah, you probably want to start going down the credit card path where you use Brex or Wise or any of these virtual cards to set stuff up. Can I just set Smartlead office hours and you'll find Jesse on YouTube, Jay. And so yeah, Daniel, that's what I would do. There's a whole bunch of stuff around fingerprinting and using the same computer, the same static IP address, especially getting virtual assistants to help you out, and etc. There's theories to this. It's all black box theories, but there definitely is theories to this. But yeah, if we were to give you an answer right now, if you're doing low volume, when I say low volume, sub 150 mailboxes, you should be okay with one credit card, because I mean, we've not been, it's been okay for us. And we've been doing this for a while. If you want to do more than that, maybe 300, 400, 800, 1000, 2000 mailboxes, then you probably want to create a nice little chart, figure out these are the thresholds that I want to work with, 15 to 20 domains per tenant. We usually say 10, but you can amp that up and make it double and do 3 mailboxes to 4 mailboxes per tenant, per domain. And then you've got yourself basically, what, 80 to 90 mailboxes per tenant. Is my math even right? Yeah, but 80 to 90 mailboxes per tenant. Go horizontally across 10 tenants, or I think 8 tenants per credit card, and then go upwards with the new credit card, and then you can just keep scaling that upwards. Yes, at this point, probably doesn't make sense to use one computer, one browser, one IP address. You want to flip that up, and once you cross 8 to 10, you probably want to use Express or Nord and log into a separate IP in the region that makes sense to you, and then add mailboxes from there, and then rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. Cool. And my point would be rinse, repeat until you get into trouble. Trouble's the wrong word, but rinse, repeat until you start hitting the threshold. Then you know, okay, time's up, time to move on.
Awesome.
Sweet, man. I hope that helps, Daniel. Thank you for jumping on. Jack, your question, Microsoft 100% still works for Outlook, but just give it a test to see if it is working for you. We have mixed answers from people.
Awesome.
We got
well,
Julian and
1
Daniel.
minute.
Yeah.
We've got Julian. I'm adding it to the spotlight, and boom, go for it.
Sorry for spamming you guys earlier.
Yeah, good.
All good, all good.
I'm looking to increase the number of inboxes that I have, right? So I know a lot of times people talk of Mo as a reseller. Tried reaching out to him. I haven't been able to get a hold of him. So I'm being proactive, and it seems like a potential option is using a VPS service. And I don't work for Green Geeks. It was just, I have a friend of mine that uses them.
Yep.
And we did a test. He sent me an email from the inbox that he's hosting on this VPS. And it showed so I went to show original message. I looked at the IP, and it was an IP that comes from Google, right?
Yeah.
So does it make sense to use a service like that, sign up for the workspace, and then avoid the $7 a month monthly fee? Like, is the deliverability the same as if I would have just signed up directly through Google?
It's a blanket statement question to ask. Some people yes, some people no. So you sign up to a reseller, and that reseller has added your account to the tenant that has like 700 other accounts, and 20 of those are high scale spammers. Then when they get hit, everyone else in the tenant gets hit. So you suddenly see massive drops in your quote unquote reply rates or deliverability. So there's always that net effect for it. So I don't want to say one is better than the other. One is cheaper than the other, yes, but resellers by nature are not meant IPs that are secondary IPs comparatively to the core users. So that's the trend that we picked up. And it's a bit of a catch-22 where the larger the reseller, the more cautious you want to be, because that means they've got this spread everywhere and they're capped up on if that helps out. But yeah, I can't give a blanket statement saying they're better or worse. They work, they're cheaper, and they have a age where they run for, and then after that you can move on to another mailbox or another
So-
reseller.
But if I were to use like not go through the reseller and just go to like that Green Geeks VPS, is that because I to my understanding, right, like one of the perks of using like a Smartlead is that I'm emailing behind a Google IP address, right? So as long as I have that Google IP, but I'm doing it through like that VPS, is that the same thing? Because I'm just avoiding the $7 a month, but the IP still shows up as Google.
I don't have the answer for that.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I unfortunately don't have the answer for that. In theory, yes, but yeah, I unfortunately don't have the answer for that. I'd love to test it, and I'll be very open in my mind saying that I'd love to test it and give an answer for you, but I don't have the answer, unfortunately. Just very quickly, I know we need to go for one more question and we're running late. Green Greek looks very similar to Two Cows, and Two Cows is actually used by a bunch of these SMTP tools in the market right now as a white labeled service for doing outbound. So it seems to work for them. So maybe it's the same thing. So, but Two Cows does work for people. We know that. So you can check it out. TUCOWS.
Awesome.
Cool. Let's go to the last question.
Thank you, Julian. Just one moment. We've got Dylan here. Just adding you to the spotlight, and boom, go for it, Dylan.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Quick
Man.
shout out. Thank you so much for always being like leader in the community and always answering questions whenever people have them. So you're just like super diligent across all the platforms. Shout out to the SYC team. Namit, I see you're in here too. Been running into an issue setting up G Suite inboxes, especially admin panels. I've been using privacy cards, static residential IPs, anonymous browsers, and I'll get to the point where essentially the payment page comes up, put in the virtual card, charge the card, and then it will go through a KYC. So I'm starting to see my first KYC blocks on Google, and I was wondering, what do you think is triggering that? Is it the SOX 5 proxy? Is it the privacy card? Like how can Google kind of pick up on those type of things? So just wanted to kind of like ask about that.
Again, it will probably be, me black boxing it, but we know this, and Swapnil would know this from Facebook days, and still now, when you, one of the most classic things Facebook did, and I think everyone picked it up after that, is Facebook would track credit cards, because people were doing e-com drop shipping, which was, prolific. People would just use the same credit card across multiple ad accounts, and then it would use some hash it created on the card to go ahead and track it, and then block the entire account based on the credit card. That's a big issue. Google might be doing a similar thing. If you're using a privacy card, maybe there's certain thresholds that you're meant to meet. I know certain providers, forgot that, I don't know who it was, Outlook, Gmail, I don't know which one it was. They never accepted Wise for a while. You can create like virtual cards with wise.com. It was called TransferWise back then. And they never accepted it because I guess they saw a bunch of people, shoe spamming or creating proxy accounts through that. So if you're just being flagged for something, I think I said that just in a previous person before, do it until it works and then move on to the next card. I really don't have the reasoning as to why they would have done that or not, unless you have passed the threshold, right? Like how many mailboxes have you created from this card? Let's go for it.
Essentially,
Do you
just
know?
a flagging mechanism, nothing else, right? It's just flagging. That's the same thing that happened with Facebook as well, right? They wanted to flag usage across multiple cards, right? Because, and I'll tell you where that was coming from for Facebook as well. They were trying to monitor agencies, right? Which were essentially had like one card attached for multiple accounts that they would make, because they would earn certain set of credits and limits on those, right? Which is where Facebook came up with this mechanism that, hey, we know agencies are scamming us by, taking an active pool of, like, let's say if you were maintaining at least 50 Facebook accounts or ad accounts, or creating that for your clients, you would be able to get certain thresholds of limits, which would be significant in terms of what Facebook would essentially have to spend, right? When they're giving out these offers or credits. That was just a flagging mechanism. And I'm pretty sure Google is doing the same thing when it comes to security purpose. So as Vaibhav mentioned, like, just if you reach that threshold, or you're reaching that threshold, just, use multiple cards, and that should solve for it.
Yeah, so just to clarify, I was opening up a new privacy card in our account for every time I was trying to pay for like essentially a new admin panel, and still, so I'm not sure like if privacy gives
Oh,
away.
so your secondary privacy card got blocked. Yeah, so it's all rooted back to the same thing, dude. These it's all rooted back to the same thing. It goes on the primary card in the end anyway. So it's
True. Got it.
just for context, like we tried, well, I didn't try it. Backstory for everyone: we used to run an agency, and one of the companies we wanted to build for wanted to do virtual cards in Australia, and that's where we learned about virtual cards as the whole concept and how they work. Virtual cards are basically aliases of the primary card. In the end, they're all rooted back to the same thing. There's certain modules and services you can use. Most of the time, it's Visa that offers virtual cards compared to MasterCard. They're the main providers of virtual cards. You need to go through their SDK, set up a whole thing, blah blah blah, and go through it. But in the end, it all goes back to the primary card. In the end, always. So, just FYI. It's all good. This is my knowledge from like 2019, when like someone wanted us to build that app a long time ago. It might be very, very different now.
Awesome. All right, thanks
Cool.
for your answer. Appreciate it.
Easy, man.
Cool. Folks, any more questions before we jump off? I'm gonna keep the channel open for a minute. If not, okay, awesome. No more questions. If you do have any questions, yeah, you can do a shout out on LinkedIn. Absolutely. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out on the Slack. The whole growth, marketing, and customer support team is there along with Vaibhav. And yeah, we'll see you
Thanks
there.
all. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me blabber. Oh, just one last thing. 52 people left. Just one last thing before you go. It's summer. People are gonna reply slowly. Don't panic. Cool. Just keep sending. I have put a message out on the Slack community. I will repost it again. I've shared some windows where you need to be aware of your quote unquote daily recycle, which is why I asked at the very beginning of this call how long you all have been cold emailing for. Because if you've done this for a few years, you know there's windows where we have drops. Cool. All right. Take care.
Thank you, folks. Have a good day. Bye bye.